So I think Vijay, we are live online now. We're good to go.
Okay, so before I just start with the revision, what I'm planning to do today is kind of go through the whole syllabus in one go and just give you a snippet of what kind of is covered. But before we start this, regarding the exams, what I've been seeing is that every week they give updates, Cambridge Examination Board. And so far they claim the exams are still on for October 2nd and 5th, the two papers. Now, I think the deadline in many schools is supposed to be September 2nd in the UK if you're doing the external center, but it's very, I mean, there's no specific website as such, the list of all the centers. But if you search locally in Google in your own country or your own city or even in your own area, you will see there's a lot of external examination centers running exams. Yes. Now, having said that, there are some schools, some exam centers, they're not even sure yet. The only issue is that if you do it through school, like some people, some children might do it, then the schools may not have November exams. Then you have to look for an external center. And that could be an issue because even some centers I've checked are not even sure yet whether they will hold the exam in November or not. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. But what I would suggest is that please search for local centers in whatever country you are in and area. Just type in Cambridge Examination Board, IGCSE, November, and then schools or city, and you should get names. There's a lot of schools worldwide who do that, but you have to find one which suits you. And then, of course, whether they're having exams in November or not. It's a very kind of fluid situation, which is quite unfortunate, but that's where we are at the moment. So I would suggest please have a look. I know that in some places in Australia, they're not doing it anymore. November, they've said they will not do it. Even some schools in the UK are not, as I mentioned, not sure. So it's quite fluid as such. So yeah, that's all I can say at the moment. But please have a look at centers nearby, wherever you are staying, and search for them. And you should hopefully get some centers which are doing exams. Yeah. Yeah. If you have any further questions, just email to us on this issue, and then we can take it from there. Okay. Right. Regarding the syllabus. So, um, as I mentioned, I think 2-3 weeks ago, for the Cambridge IGCSE, you have to do two papers. Both papers are 90 minutes long, and every paper has got 3 sections. So I will just quickly share the syllabus with you on the screen. Just bear with me. Let me bring up the reading mode if I can view. What's it called, read mode? I think. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So if I just share that now, shares. Can I share something, Nitish Bhai?
Yes, that's
Okay, now I can. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is from the Cambridge IGCSE board I've just picked up. Yeah. So that's basically the syllabus really can be put down in little 2 tables. But of course, it's depending on how much you write. So paper 1 is actually called Hindu gods and festivals, which kind of makes sense. And then you have 3 sections in that. Yeah. A, B, and C. So in section A, you have to learn generally about the gods, but they focus on some specific gods. They focus on the idea of the 3 murtis, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. And then, of course, in detail about Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Ganesh, and Kartikeya, which is Murugan. So here you have to learn about what they look like, what artifacts they hold, what objects they hold, and what they represent, what's symbolic meaning behind it. Also, if you learn about their stories, we'll come to that a little bit on further on. I'll just show you what is required. Yeah. So that's basically section A. Section B, again, you have to learn about the avatars of Vishnu, which I think most of you know, is if you must know about 10 avatars of Vishnu, the basics about the 10 avatars, but on top of that, you have to focus on 4 particular one in more detail, which is the Vaman avatar, the Narsimha avatar, Rama avatar, and Krishna avatar. Focus on these 4 in more detail. So that's section B. Section C is to do with festivals. So again, you have to learn about generally what festivals are all about, the cultural significance, social religious significance. And again, you're going to focus on four in particular, which is the Mahashivratri, Ganesh Chaturthi, Kavadi, and Diwali. So these are four main focus, but you must learn in general what it's about, yes, and of course the different elements, facets about these festivals and what people do on the festivals. So yeah, so that's basically paper one. That's it. I mean, I think most of you know this stuff. It's something we do all the time. So in exams, luckily in exams, what we have is that for every section you have two questions to choose from. So say one question might be on Shiva and four parts on Shiva, and one maybe on Durga. If you don't like the Shiva one, you should do the Durga question. You have an option even there. So in that total you have six questions per paper, but you choose only three, one each in each section. That's how we're supposed to do it, yes. And every question is 20 marks. So you have four parts in one question, and in that question you have up to 20 marks you get, yeah. So that's a kind of, I'll bring a paper later on, you can have a look what it looks like so you get some idea. So that's paper one. Now paper two is what we've been covering for quite a while recently, because it's not part of the main online course that we've been doing. And as you can see here, is the first part is the scriptures, ethics, and Hindu life. So in the scriptures, the Mundak, the Chandogya Upanishad, which we covered in class, the Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 on the Karma Yoga, which Dilip I covered a while back, and the Ramcharitamanas of Tulsidas, which is the Kiskinda Kand and the Aranya Kand, and only certain sections, which again we covered a while back. So that's basically section A of paper 2. Section B, I call it the 4x4, which is, like the four vehicles, but anyhow. So in that, you could cover the four Varnas, the four ashrams, the four Purusharths, and the samskars. Again, it's actually you're going to focus on mainly four. We'll cover in a bit more detail. But you must know generally what samskars are about. Or if somebody in Gujarati will say sanskars, it's the same thing. Sanskars, the way you say same. And section C is the reformers and the reforms taking place in Hinduism from the 18th century to the 20th century, which of course covers Ram Mohan Roy, who came kind of quite early in the 18th century, Dayananda Saraswati, Ramakrishna Paramas, and finally Gandhi, who was like in the 20th century. So you have to cover those personalities. Again, we spend a lot of time going through these personalities and we kind of cover them. So that's the syllabus, yeah, in brief. Okay, let's go in a bit more detail on this, yeah, a little bit more. I'll just show you what is required. So you can have a look at it. This is something you can download from the Cambridge board, yes. But if I just show you, yeah. So example, for the God section, so they covered two main parts. They call it learning outputs A0, AO1 and AO2 outcomes. The two different outcomes you have. So basically the basic stuff you have to learn is that he explains here, describe what the gods, how the gods are specified, how they portray in icons, in stories as well. You must know some stories. They don't ask for any specific stories, but you must know some stories about Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Ganesh, and Kartike, which I guess most of you know all kinds of stories. Like for Shiva, you can do story about the coming of the Ganga from the heavens, an example of a story, or story of Shiva's marriage to Parvati. If you learn all these basic stories, because they might ask you, give an example of a story and how he portrays Shiva's character, then you can explain that, yeah, like that. And then, of course, the significance, the meaning and significance of the iconographic features they hold, all the stuff they hold. Like Shiva holds a trishul, he's got a third eye, matted hair, kind of a tiger or lion skin, or he has Rudraksh or snake around his neck. So all these iconographic features, you have to explain the significance behind it and what they represent. And then, of course, how people worship and how they're influenced by these deities. And also, of course, where appropriate, relate to these features to stories, traditions, teachings, and tradition, because traditions vary from place to place. So you must know about different traditions of these deities, these particular gods. And the other part, learning outcome too, is how basically they're asking how is these stories, how they worship in different by different individuals, how is it different from person to person, how is it different in different communities, the various traditions. because it varies from place to place how people worship all these different gods. Yes, and also how the stories are viewed in different places. That's a generic kind of general. I mean, a lot of these things it may not apply in the modern sense, but the idea is to have different variations and different understanding on how people may see all these gods in different light. Yes, for example, Shiva can be seen as in the Advait form. People say Shivoham, Shivoham, or Shiva can be seen as a deity, kind of a Dvait deity who you worship. Again, some people worship Shiva in a very elaborate fashion. Some people just worship Shiva with a small kind of little image of him. So there's a variety of ways you can worship Shiva as well. And of course, you have this main Bara Jyotirling, 12 major places of worship of Shiva. So all these are kind of information, generic information about all these particular gods. Yeah. Okay. Again, similarly for avatars, same thing as for gods, except in this case, you focus on the four main avatars, which is the Vaman avatar, Nrsimha avatar, Rama avatar, and Krishna avatar. So you must learn about these avatars in detail and what are the attributes, what are the specific features of these avatars, and the stories behind them, and the kind of the meaning and message behind them. Also, how they look like. Again, how do the images? What is the significance of the images? What do they symbolize? Again, also how they seen in different communities, how they worship in different places, and how different people view it differently. Again, the idea of Krishna, you can say that, for example, you can have any stories about Krishna, the defeating of the his uncle Kans, or the story of the Mahabharat battle, the idea of narrating of the Gita. These are all different stories of Krishna. So again, you must know. I hope you all know this stuff anyway. It's part of the syllabus. So yeah, that's avatars. Similarly for festival, that's why I put this Ganesh Chaturthi, because it's part of the syllabus. You must learn the four main festivals: Mahashivratri, Ganesh Chaturthi. Kavadi is a festival dedicated to Kartik. I think that we might cover a session on that, because many people may not know about that Kavadi festival. And Deepavali festival, yeah, which all you know. Again, same thing. How we celebrate it in different communities, and what are differences in celebration? Again, why do people celebrate Diwali? There's two different things: why they celebrate and how they celebrate, and how they might observe different kind of disciplines during the festivals. So again, all this general stuff we do all the time, but now we could write it down in paper. Yes, so that's kind of paper one. Okay. Paper two, we have covered the idea of the scriptures in quite detail. Again, as you can see here, explain the meaning of these passages. So you must understand the meaning of the passages. So to give you a passage, you must be able to elaborate and explain the passage. Again, you must explain the key concepts of Brahman, Karma, Gnan, Bhakti, even Dharma, all these other key words. You must be able to explain what they mean. So that's again linked to the scripture. Like the Bhakti is of course linked to the idea of the Tulsidas, Ramcharitamanas. The Gnan Marg is with the Mandukya Upanishad, Mundak and Chandogya Upanishad. Karma Marg is in the Gita, and the idea of Brahman again comes in the Upanishad scriptures. Yeah. Again, you must explain how it can be seen differently in different scriptures, different communities, different individuals, how they might interpret. So the examiners are quite happy to see that you actually putting on interpretation. They don't mind that. Yes. So if you say, look, my understanding is that, and if you say, for example, for the Mundak Upanishad, you can say that a person who's a Dvait follower might interpret a scripture in that manner. A Dvait follower might interpret in a different manner. So you're going to explain all these kind of different variation, different interpretations. So that's also kind of part of the scriptures. Yeah. Okay. Now this is the one I was saying. Hindu life 4x4. I call it. Yeah, 4x4, kind of like the SUV cars. Yes. So the four varnas you must learn: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Again, they will ask you the evolving belief, or how in today's context how is it changed. Also, what is the significance behind it, why it was practiced. So they might ask these kind of questions so that you can answer. The four ashramas. So the four ashrams, the Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprastha, Sannyas ashram. Again, we have covered this in the general course, so you should be kind of hopefully up to speed. The four Purushas, again, we have covered in the generic course: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. and the and what they represent and why they're important. And the samskars with specific reference to the Namkarana, naming ceremony, Upnayana, Vivaha ceremony, and the Antasheshti, which is the Antim Kriya session when somebody passes away. So again, you could focus on these four and explain them in more detail. Again, they just explain the outcomes, that how it's practiced, what people do, how they affect the ethical thinking, all the general questions they will ask. Also, how they integrate in the modern world, then say in the past, changing ideas, how it affects person's ethical thoughts. So all these ideas from this, they will ask you questions. Like they might ask you, explain how the four purusha impacts a person's ethical behavior. Then you have to be able to explain that. Yeah. So that's the idea behind this Hindu life and ceremonies. And finally, the reformers, basically the reformers and their lives. You must explain what they achieved and what they thought, how they impact the different communities, how they impact the Hindu kind of modernization or Hindu evolving thought or changes in Hindu society. That's something you will cover as well regarding this person, the figure Brahman Roy, Diana Saraswati. You can actually read this in the syllabus. We've covered all this. Ramakrishna Paramhans and then Gandhi, yes. So that's the syllabus in kind of brief. What I will do now, I'll just show you a test paper so you get an idea. Let me just stop sharing this 1 second. Um, just bear with me. Mhm. Wait a minute. Right. Okay. Here we go. So let me just share that. Share. Here we go. Share. Okay. Well, I hope you can see this paper. Yeah, examination. So as I mentioned, it's a 90-minute paper. Again, these are online. You can actually download them yourself with the mark scheme on what they expect. You can download it yourself. Yeah. So see again, you have, for example, for question section A on goals, you have question 1 with A, B, C, D, or question 2, A, B, C, D. So, for example, say the way I would suggest is that look at the 10-mark question and see, okay, a worshipper of Ganesh will have no problems in life. If you're comfortable in getting the 10 marks, then I would suggest that should be your guide on which question to answer, either 1 or 2. Or look at question 2 now, D is on Vishnu, yeah? None of the Hindu gods are powerful without their female consort. Like, Vishnu goes with Lakshmi, and then you have Brahma with Saraswati, and Shiva with Parvati. So if you feel you're more comfortable with this question, then it's okay. Then that's your choice. If they're both equal in your kind of ability to answer, then look at the C part question, which is saying, explain how Vishnu churned the Milky Ocean, which is Samudra Manthan story, or explain why a Hindu might pray to Ganesh before an important event. And then you can choose. So what you can't do is you can't mix and match. Either you choose one A, B, C, D or two A, B, C, D. And then you just answer it, yes. And that's kind of the question for the gods. Similarly for avatars, you see the first one is on Narsimha avatar, second Krishna avatar. So you choose either one. Okay. Again, for the fifth one, what is meant by pilgrimage? Why one give a reason why Hindu might make a pilgrimage. Now, if you look at the question, the way it's framed, A is 2 marks, B is 3, C is 5, and D is 10. Now, of course, 10 is the hardest because you have to get 10 marks, you could really work hard, yes. But the A part is really a giveaway. So they just want to give you marks. They don't even get 0 basically. So you shouldn't have a problem answering the A part. So this is the kind of layout of the paper, yeah. So I would suggest that you practice some of these questions. So in part A, maximum you want is about 2 sentences, or at least one really good sentence or 2 sentences. With 3 marks, you want some 5 good sentences, maybe 5, maybe 6. For a 5 mark, you want like 8, 9, maybe 10 really good sentences to explain the answer. And these are 10 marks. This is really the tough one. So here you're going to put really very good about, say, 17, 18 really good sentences to explain your answer, basically. Your answer, yeah. That's the kind of layout of the paper. So hopefully they'll give you an idea of the question. Really, it's just practice. If you practice the questions, then you get better at it. Yeah. Now, one thing to remember is that don't try and say, okay, I'll do a lottery. I'll say, okay, for section A, I could learn Ganesh, Shiva, Kartikeya, and Durga. I'll do a lottery. I'll learn only three, and hopefully I get a jackpot and get one. It won't work like that, because in the exam, sometimes they do mix and match. They might give Ganesh and they might give a question on Shiva here. So don't think that they'll only give everything on Ganesh. I've seen some questions where they actually mix. So you have to learn all of them in a kind of a good manner. Yeah. So that's the kind of what do you call the syllabus behind it. Yeah. So I would suggest that if anybody has got a specific topic they want to cover, I can spend some time on covering the specific topic. But generally, we have covered kind of all the stuff here. So I think over to Nishit Bhai, if what topic would you like to cover? That's the main thing. Let me bring up syllabus again, then you can get a better idea. Hold on, let me just stop share. Bear with me. Yeah, so I've stopped sharing. Let me bring up the other one again. Bear with me. The syllabus. Then you can ask specific question the syllabus.
Sure. As you bring that, I just wanted to ask you if it's a good tactic. This is what we used to do when we were studying for these Hinduism exams before.
Yeah.
Is we would get as many past papers as we could, and
Yes.
sort of do it under exam conditions, and then mark it against the marking guide. Would you recommend people to do that in preparation for the exams as well?
That's a very good idea. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's a good idea. I mean, the syllabus is fairly new. It started in 2017. So only have two or three papers basically, and one sample was about 3-4 papers to look at. But that's a very good idea. I mean, they have a marking scheme as well you can look at. But I'm pretty sure that most of you, if you've done the full, what do you call course, general course, the very first course we had, online course, if you've done that course, then I'm pretty sure you will do actually better off, because the mark scheme answers some are really poor. We got much better answers in our course than what they have in the mark scheme. But you can have a look at the marks. Some are really good answers. Some I would say not up to speed. But I'm pretty sure most of you can get even better answers in the mark scheme. So you should be actually quite okay to do the test. Yeah. So yeah, let me just share the screen and bring up the. Here we go. Share screen. Yeah. Let me bring the general syllabus, and you can actually have a look at. Right, here we go. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's the syllabus in a nutshell. Yeah. So not that hard. Yeah. So
Okay. So I suggest maybe we do this. So we throw it open to the viewers online today.
yeah.
Let us be led by what wherever they are. So this is the
Yes.
reason why you need to turn up live online for these Q&A sessions, because now you can get personalized help for your examination
Yeah.
preparation from Vijay Bhai. So what I'm
Yes.
going to do is I'm going to just ask everybody to maybe unmute themselves and give us a guidance of which section of the syllabus do you want Vijay Bhai to expound on a little bit more. Do you want gods, avatars, festivals,
Yeah.
aspects of knowledge, action, and devotion, Hindu
Yeah.
life and ceremonies, or reforms and the reformers of the
Yeah.
18th to 20th centuries?
Yeah. Just one question. I mean, how many of you know about Kartikeya, Lord Murugan, and Kawari festival? Anyone?
I do.
No.
Quite popular in Fiji.
Oh, okay. If you're from South India, South Indian, then you mostly know. But if you're not, then you will not know that. Yes.
Mm.
It's quite
So,
popular among the South Indians, South Indian Hindus in Fiji. Yeah.
oh, actually, then I think you're fine. But how many others know about it? Just curious, because I know a lot of people in North India don't know
Yeah.
much about. Yes.
Apart,
So,
apart from his Shankar Bhagwan's son, that's it. Nothing else really.
okay, okay, okay. So, shall we cover that? Maybe I don't know,
Please.
but I leave you
Yeah.
guys. Is there anything else you want to cover?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's cover Kartikeya first. Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, for Kartikeya is very popular in South India, as you know, and he's known by many names. And you'll be surprised, some of the names you've heard, but you've never kind of clicked. Like how many of you have heard the name Subramaniam? Anyone?
I've heard
Yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah.
actually that's another name for
I have,
Kartikeya.
yep. Yep.
It's another name for Kartikeya, yes. Or if you look at Murugan, is a name for Kartikeya. Or you can have Kumaran, another name for Kartikeya. Skanda. There's so many names he has. Because Kartikeya is very special. I'll tell you why it's special. Because He's a very multifaceted god, yes. In the sense, multifaceted means that he's a philosopher, he's a warrior, he's somebody who is very intelligent. So you can have multifacets of that god. Now, there's a lot of stories behind Kartikeya. Um, one popular story is about the fact that, what do you call, you know the story about Ganesh. When Ganesh was going around, he said, who can go around the world 3 times? And Kartikeya went on his peacock and went around the world 3 times. And Ganesh was just sitting there, eating his laddus water. And then when the time came, he just went down his parents 3 times and he kind of won the race, yes. And he said that Kartikeya was not actually happy in that sense. But from what Ganesh, what Shiva kind of pacified him, and as that you will also be worshipped as a very great, what do you call, a god as well. So he was kind of blessed like that. But there's a lot of stories. There's one story about the fact that um, it's a very ancient story about the sage Agastya, who asked that the two hills from the Himalayas, the north, be carried down to South India. They're called Shaktigiri and Shivagiri hills. You can search the stories online, yes. And when they were brought down by his disciple called Induman, who brought the hills down, and at the point when he got tired, he put them down somewhere in Tamil Nadu. And with the hills down, he couldn't lift them again because there was somebody who was really kind of, he saw a person who was really kind of, what do you call it, in a very simple clothes, very poor person. And when he met him, he couldn't lift the hills again. And because he wanted the hills. And eventually, Induman, who was a disciple of Agastya, found that the hills actually, the person who's holding me, stopping me from getting the hills up, was none other than what do you call Kartikeya. There's a big battle as well. And now, if you look at the lot of temples of Kartikeya in South India, also in Malaysia, you see a very big statue of somebody standing in the front. Before actually going to the temple, is somebody called Induman, who is the sentinel of Lord Kartikeya. And he stands in the front before actually meet Lord Murugan. So there's a lot of stories behind Murugan. There are about 6 major temples in South India dedicated to Lord Murugan, and they're very, very popular. So that's the kind of brief on Lord Murugan. But the key thing is the festival of Kavadi is very kind of special with Lord Kartikeya. Again, how many of you heard called the festival of Thai Possum? Anybody?
I
Yeah.
have.
It's about
Yeah.
South India. If you're from South India, you'll have. That's a major, major festival. I mean, I heard that last time it was held in Malaysia. Malaysia is a big Tamil community. Apparently, almost over 500,000 people turned up or something for the Thai Possum festival. It runs for 10 days. And there's within the Thai Possum festival, there's also called the Kavadi. Kavadi is a very special day in the Thai Possum festival. Now, Kavadi actually means, it comes from the word in Gujarati or Hindi, kawad. Who knows kawad? Kawad. It's like a scale you carry. Kawad is a scale you carry with 2 scales.
Yeah.
So the kawad is like that. So kawad is a festival where everybody carries kind of like that with 2 baskets on their shoulders, and they carry different kinds of gifts for Lord Murugan, and they actually carry it up the hill or up to the temple and offerings. But the key thing about Kavadi festival is to relieve a burden. The burdens you carry is how to give up your burdens or to relieve them or make them less. In a way, it's basically like Ganesh, who takes obstacles away, and Kartikeya kind of relieves your burden. So it's a kind of a synergy there, yes. So what people do in the Kavadi festival, even before it starts, say a month before, 2 months before, they will give up certain things, disciplines. One is they might give up, if they eat meat, they'll give up meat for the 2-3 months, which a lot of, I know some South Indians live opposite road, they do that as well. They give it up. Or they might take even severe discipline like fasting discipline. Somebody might abstain, maybe practice celibacy, yeah. Or somebody may eat different kinds of foods, discipline. Somebody may say, okay, I will now, I don't know, do a discipline on the body like fasting. So all these kind of things are practiced. And the key reason why they do it is to relieve burden on yourself. If you got any kind of burdens like health burdens, financial burdens, or you're just having mental issues or whatever, so you kind of relieve your burdens. That's a key idea about Kavadi. Now, if you have seen in South India, sometimes you may have seen in TV or pictures, people actually they actually pierce cheeks, they actually put hooks behind the skin. Have you seen that, some of you? That is actually the Kavadi festival. That's the extreme version of it. Yeah, some people go to that lens to kind of punish themselves or kind of inflict pain or kind of discipline to see how much pain they can take just for this. Actually is now greatly discouraged by the worships of Murugan, but some people, very few people still do it. And that's the idea behind this festival. And sometimes if you can't do it yourself, say you're very old and infirm, somebody else can do it on your behalf. So a son can say, okay, look, I want to do a kavadi and take some offerings to Lord Murugan on the behalf of my parents so they have less suffering. That's the whole idea behind the idea of this kavadi festival. So that's in brief about kavadi. But have a look and read about. It's very, very popular. It's a very big thing in South India. And if when you read about it, then you say, oh wow, how come I didn't know about it? But because you don't know about it, then you will not realize. But search for Thaiposam and the Kavadi festival, and you see it's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah. So, and yeah, generally regarding festivals, the key things you must learn are that festivals are a reminder of God. That's one thing. It's a question of a celebration of the community, preserving of traditions. Yeah, these are all kind of basic things apply to all the kind of festivals. Yeah. And again, of course, celebration of a particular deity. So that's the Kavadi in kind of short. Hopefully that gave you some background to go and search for more. Yeah. Okay. I'll stop here for that festival. Anything else which you think you might want to focus on? Let me know.
Please, can we do the scriptures?
Okay. So scriptures, I think, as we covered a while back, you know, the scriptures you could learn, as I mentioned last time, are the Upanishads, which you covered, you know, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, I can't remember now. We covered the Mundak Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad. I think we have a recording somewhere. I don't know if I'm right or not on that, Nishitbhai, but you can have a look. So the Mundak Upanishads actually are talking about the idea of nature of reality, Atman and Brahman, and how they link together, how they link to each other, and what is the Atman, and how to achieve moksha. That's covered in the two Upanishads, and they are linked to the Gyan Marg, the path of knowledge. So that's the Upanishad scriptures. And you can see that the verses you have, which we covered a while back, all the verses are very similar. They're not that different. And we also learned something else as well, that the Chandogya Upanishad has got one of the Mahavakyas, Tattvam Asi, yeah, which is that our Tao is one of the major verses of the Chandogya Upanishad. And the Mundak Upanishad we also covered Satyameva Jayata, which comes from Mundak. And Satyameva Jayata means truth alone triumphs, which is a kind of a national phrase for the Indian Republic, yeah, which are from these two Upanishads. The Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, which we covered, was to do with the karma marg. That one goes through the idea of how the idea of practicing of karma, selfless action, can help you get moksha. And it explains that basically you must do action. You can't sit around. So basically, what Krishna is saying, being a couch potato is not an option. You cannot be a couch potato, yes, if you want to succeed. You must do action. No matter how great you are, how rich you are, even if you've achieved moksha, even if you're enlightened, you have to do action. And actually, Krishna himself does it. Even Krishna, when he was narrating the Gita to Arjun, he was saying that, look, even me, the Supreme Lord, I do action. Even though I have nothing to achieve in this world, I do action. Because he believed by doing action, you have to set example to others. So doing action is two things. One is selfless action, by seeing everybody as a divine, seeing everybody as God and serving people, getting a chance to serve others is a privilege. It's not a kind of, what do you call, a pleasure. It's a privilege, a humble privilege that you get to serve others, because they're basically image of the divine. Yes, they represent the divinity in them is what you're kind of serving. And not only that, second thing, you have to be in such a way that you set example to others, to encourage others to follow as well. Now, regarding the karma mark, there's a lot more extra burden on people who are community leaders. If you're serving in a community leader, then the burden is even more, because then you have really got to show work in self action, because you become a model where people follow. So Gita actually states in chapter 3, you must do action in such a way that it encourages others to lead a spiritual life. Yes, that's basically chapter 3. And it states very clearly the biggest thing that stops us in what do you call in succeeding in karma mark is the idea of desire. Desire is the biggest kind of what do you call obstacle which stops us. And desires for everything. Desires for money, for cars, for a bigger house, yes, for, I don't know, for wanting to be cleverer than others. All these are desires, or even desire for new objects, any desire. And that's the key thing. How do you give up desire? And that's the one of the biggest things which stops us from achieving moksha. I mean, the other example which I really like is the idea of the Buddha. And Buddha, when he walked out of his palace, leaving everything, I don't know how many palaces he had in his compound, he just walked away. And Buddha is a very classic, I mean, actually, Buddhism is based on the idea of alleviating suffering. And the root cause of suffering in Buddhism is actually desire. If you have desire, you can't alleviate suffering, because when you desire something, you don't get it, you feel mental kind of distress, yes? And that's the amazing thing about the idea of the karma mark. It reminds me of a story from the Pali Canon, which is the collection of the Buddhist stories. It is said that the Buddha, when he was growing up in his palace, he never saw a dry leaf. Basically, in the morning before he wakes up, all the king will send all the workers and pick up every dry leaf. So he never knew decay, basically. Yes. Can you imagine living in such a society, such a place? Yet, when he went out just once out of his palace, just once, and he saw suffering, he walked out. He gave up all his palaces, all his, I don't know, the luxury he had. So you can imagine, for somebody like us, even to give up our car is a struggle, or giving up our iPhone is a big struggle, right? And then you go somebody, a great grand prince who just walks out and gives everything up. Can you imagine how great the Buddha must be just to walk away and said, okay, I'm not looking back, yes? And this is a big challenge we all have. And the worst thing is this, the economy is designed in such a way it has to make you feel you lack. Unfortunately, how the economy runs. If you don't consume, you don't take loans and don't consume, then the economy doesn't run. If it doesn't run, you don't get money. So it's a basically polar opposites, yeah, we have here. I mean, history, like I think Rishi Sunak said, go out and eat and enjoy. Everybody's going out to eat because they're missing that. They're lacking something. There's a desire to eat outside. So he's trying to feed the desire into you. Why? Because he wants us again to consume. And consume, you only consume your desire. So unfortunately, you have these two polar opposites fighting, right? You want to give up desire, so you want to succeed in moksha. On the other side, if you don't desire, if you don't consume, the economy doesn't run. So what do you do? Yes, big problem. Anyway, that's the Gita. Karma mark, selfless action. Do something. So Gita doesn't say don't own object, don't own possessions. Yes, you can own things, but don't get attached to it. Detach from it and use them as a practical kind of something to use. Yeah, like that. That's the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. And the Ramcharitamanas of Tulsidas, that's again amazing, the idea of bhakti marga, love for God. And Tulsidas lays it out much, much better than anybody can. With the idea where he describes lotus, the Lord with as the blue lotus, and the jasmine flower, what do you call Lakshman, and the way he describes the Lord and everything else. The beauty is just self-evident. So that's all that with the bhakti marg. These are the three scriptures you could learn, yeah. And as I mentioned, the first one is Gnan marg, pathway to moksha. These two, Bhagavad Gita karma marg, and this is the bhakti marg. And the yog marg, Raj Yog is in the A levels, yeah. So that's the scriptures in kind of brief. Amazing stuff we have, Hindus. We just go read it and learn about it, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Have a look at the scripture I would suggest, and when you come back next time, if you read the syllabus, if you find something particular, just ask me and we'll kind of cover it, yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, Vijay, that was clear covered now?
Yeah, that's covered, I think. Yeah, in short,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, so we are at 40 minutes into the broadcast. I think we should now open up for Q&A.
Yeah.
If there is anything else people want to ask regarding the examinations, this would be the time now to get started.
So look,
Uh, just I think I'm just deviating. Just going back to the Kavadi
yes,
Puja.
sure.
Actually, I'm North Indian, but from what I've read and seen on YouTube, etc., there's something similar celebrated among the Bhojpuris and I think in Bihar, Kawar Puja. I think. I mean,
Is
would
it
you
Kawar
know?
Puja? Okay. Okay, I'll have to
Yeah.
search it. I'm not aware of that. Among the
No.
Bhojpuris, yeah? That's North India, yeah. UP state,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and Bihar, yes, correct, yeah. Okay. Now I'll have a look at that. I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting. Then at least then I can compare the two and so the people from north that actually there is something some similarity. Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I saw I was watching a thing Bhojpuri paper fit, and was surprised then I saw the
Okay.
similarities between the South Indian and the
Oh, I
North Indian one.
see. Okay. No, no. I'll have a look at that. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Generally there's a sort of in Fiji there's a
Yeah.
sort of a general sectarian divide between the North and South, and now you find there are similarities because I think
Okay.
among Biharis, I mean the descendants of Bihar who are living in Mauritius, for them Shiv is quite paramount as opposed to with North Indians in Fiji where it's mostly like Ram, Hanuman who are
Yeah.
very
Vishnu.
popular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think Shiva. The good thing about Shiva is actually popular. I know in the
Mm.
north we have also, of course, the Vishnu Vaishnavites as well. But Shiva, I would say generally all India they kind of even the Vaishnavites they do Shiva puja, or
Yeah.
Kashmiri Shiva Shaivism. I mean, I think Shaivism is quite prevalent all over. Yeah, but south
And
of course more so. I agree. In south even more so. Yeah.
would you say Navratri is also like a pan Hindu festival?
Yeah. So Navratri is yes is covered. It's not part of syllabus. But the 9 nights, yes,
Oh,
of defeat of the Mahishasura is celebrated mainly in the Gujarati community. I think in the north as well they celebrate Navaratri festival. Yes, that's the main battle which took place
That
between.
was a scary old bro. I would have been scared.
So that's the main kind of festival. That's true. But I think it's linked to Diwali, I guess, little bit, but not. It's not part of the syllabus. But yes,
okay.
it's good to know Navaratri festival. Yeah, yeah.
Wishabai, on the first paper, so how many questions have you got to answer in total?
3 questions.
3. And on the second one?
Three as
Same?
well.
3
Same
as well.
3. So you have an option, as I mentioned earlier, choose either 1 or 2,
Yeah.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6 like that. Yeah,
Okay, so there's 3 questions on both.
yeah. They're identical both papers. Yeah.
What are the chances of questions being repeated from the past year papers? Any chances? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some chance, but you can't guarantee. Yes, there's no guarantee. But the thing is, one thing to mention that almost all the gods, some things are very similar. Yes. If they
Yes.
ask you traditions, how are the variation? You say depending on geographical reasons, people worship it differently. Some will have large temples, some will have small temples, right? Some things are generic to everybody. Why would somebody worship God? Because of merit, because, or let's say pilgrimage of good festivals. I can give you an example of festivals. Yeah, why would somebody celebrate festivals? Right. Example is one. To acquire merit, to have merit to help get good karmas. That's one. Okay. Two, because it's a, to what do you call to get closer to remind them of God. Okay. Three, community worship as a community. Four, get the family together and celebrate as a whole family to worship to celebrate the festival like that. Yeah. You can say five, to go to temples like in Diwali. So some of these things generally fit, or give charity. Everybody does charity on festival days, yeah, like that. So some things are very general to everybody. So these are not special to particular festival, and some are special. So most of these questions will have some generic aspect to it, which you can actually put in exams. You see the marks scheme and a lot of generic answers as well. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, one of the, so I guess you could also say that festivals are occasions of bringing the community, sort of promoting unity as well, I suppose.
correct, absolutely. That is important. You must mention that because the thing is that one thing to remember that the exam paper is set by a Westerner. Yes, this is not set by
Oh,
Hindus in the West. And the lot of things they see are like they say it from a Western side, like if you look at Baptist or like Easter celebrations in the Western in the Abrahamic faith, getting everybody together, unity, the collective is very very powerful. Yes, so those kind of points will give you marks as well. Yes,
okay.
yeah.
What's the marks as well? I mean, what's the pass mark basically?
So the pass mark, what I know is that if you get over 90, you get A star.
Yeah.
Over 80, I think is A. Over 70 is B.
Okay.
60 C, and so. But the thing is, they actually have a that's a guideline. Yes, they have a variation. If it's really hard, then they might bring it down or up. They normalize the marks as well. Yes.
Yeah.
So last year we had one girl, Haley, who got 100% in both the papers. A very clever girl. Yes. So I couldn't get a paper bag. I tried to get a paper bag. I couldn't succeed. But yeah, so it's possible to get full marks. But you must write a lot of, you must write good answers, good, reasonably large answers in a nice grammatical manner. Yes. If you fly all over the place and you don't make sense, then they won't give you marks. Yes. So
Could I ask, for the questions that have 10 marks
yes.
hanging on them, if one's answering, is it a good thing to aim in one's mind to, as it was, say, 10 points, make 10, is that the kind of way of approaching them?
Yes. Yes. So what they say in the mark scheme, I think you can have 10 points or like elaborate says 5 points, but in much more detail.
Mm.
Like you have 3 points, but really expanded. There's no rule as such. But yes, I would suggest go for kind of 10 points. And yeah, so let me show you some techniques on this. Yeah, it's a good point you mentioned. Let me just share something else if I can, bear with me. So
Vijay, a quick question about the entry. How do we enter? Because we might have few people from Woolwich entering, but we don't know which center to register, who to approach.
okay, so
when to register.
but if you, I think, I don't know for Woolwich, but if you search for Woolwich centers, a lot of external centers in Woolwich, I'm pretty sure there's colleges we do it.
I put a link in the chat, which is where you can find the Cambridge schools.
Yeah.
To register.
So the best thing is to go for us. They don't, all the colleges, they don't mind. I tell you why they don't mind. Because they make money out of it. Yes. They'll charge you like about £80 to register and then maybe another 50, 60 pounds to do the exams. So for them is an income. So they're all eager to get students. So I think look in your local area, I'm pretty sure you will find some. Yes. Look at the link and then just search and just call them and they will happily answer. If you email them, they will reply, I think within a day or so. Yeah. They want you to do the exam. That's how they fund themselves actually. Have a look and then see. If not, then email me and then we can have a look on that as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the question of the marking stuff. 1 second. Let me just bring something else quickly up. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. Okay. I'll bring up a paper as well. So bear with me. Past paper. Here we go. Okay, let me just share it now. Yeah, share. Share. Okay, here we go. So if you look at the 10-mark question, yeah, this is what they'll say. Look, it'll be a statement and then ask you, look how they do it. They say, Durga is a good role model for role model for Hindu women, yes? Then this statement here, to what extent do you agree with the view? You should use evidence from your study of gods in Hinduism to support your argument. So what they really want is a differing view. So you say, look, you say, I partly agree. You can say, yes, I agree to a large extent. So you start like that, or I agree fully, or I disagree, or I mainly disagree. And then you start off why you disagree or why you agree. And then you say, however, I can understand why somebody else may not accept or may accept the argument. So you kind of give two views. So I would say you say first paragraph, your starting paragraph, you explain in general what you think. And then you second paragraph, you kind of buttress your point, why you're saying that. And third, you say, okay, wait, there are some other views also which are like differing. And the last paragraph, you kind of generalize and answer the question like that. So I'll show you the mark scheme for this one, so you can have a look at the mark scheme. Perhaps it might help. Let me bring up the mark scheme, yeah, on that. If I can see for the, here we go. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, it is the Trimurti question. Yeah, bear with me. Okay, can you see that? This is the mark scheme, yeah? Let me make it a bit larger. Yeah, here we go. It's a bit larger now. This gives you what kind of answers they want. Yeah, weak attempt, strong attempt, a very good attempt, how many marks you get. Yeah, 19 marks requires good experience. You can read this, it's just abstract, yeah, information. But see, for example, for here, I don't agree with all the answers in the Marxism, but just to let you know, Durga is a good role for Hindu women, yes, and say candidate might consider some of the following. Durga is a popular deity, especially among women who worship her with great enthusiasm, particularly as part of Durga Puja festival. So that's a very clever way of answering the question, is to bring in other festivals of the syllabus. So here, bring the Durga Puja festival in there. You can bring up, like you can say, okay, the scripture part in there. So you bring other facets to make your answer stronger. And she's often admired for a fierce independence. Now that I don't kind of agree fully, but that's a refusal to submit to male authority. I don't think they're competing, right? The Hindu god. That's the answer they've given. I think that's not a good answer, but that's the Marxist answer. Because I don't think the gods actually competed on that level, yes. But anyhow, that's what they've said here. And this is really silly. Most of them refuse to take a husband. I don't think that's actually but this is the answer they've given Marx. I think it's really poor. I actually complained to the Marx to the exam. You can't write stuff like in the exams. Yes. But anyhow, well, other parts are not bad. Yeah. So she's honored as a loving mother who is fierce in her love for protection of her children. That's okay. But in this case, it means us as children, not her own children, but humanity. Yeah. People who worship her. Yeah. This is a very powerful answer. Durga is often associated with the concept of Shakti, and as such might be a reminder of the important role of women, not only as support of the husbands, but also as dynamic power energy behind them. Okay. Durga embodiments power and courage and is fierceless, determined in her opposition to evil and to use unjust and to the unjust use of force. It might be argued that this makes a good role for not only for women but for all Hindus. Yeah. Okay. And here something I would add is the Navratri festival somebody mentioned. That women also celebrate Navratri festival, gives them strength and energy. So it's a Durga's role, good role model because it gives them a symbol of strength and support, or even during tough times, it's somebody they can look up to. That's something you can add in, yes. However, some might, again, this is another different views. Some might say that Durga's actions contradict Hindu teachings about dharma and women. The role of women is to take the husband and be obedient to them and be a good mother, which nobody does today. So most women don't even do that today. This is a behavior that preserves Rata. Rata is a word means, is an old word for dharma, means order and uphold society. Durga is not a human woman, but a divine being. As such, women should not seek to emulate her behavior. But I don't think any Hindus, even males, don't emulate behavior of male gods. So I think that's not a powerful answer again. Most women would not be in a position to emulate Durga directly, but may seek help due to her characteristics, such as courage, and as they're depicted in the story. So that's okay, the last part. So again, I think the answer, you can give a much better answer. You can bring the idea of Navratri, Shakti, the idea of worship of Durga, visiting, what do you call, her, what do you call, her centers of worship, and how she might give you strength to charity. The lovingness of the loving idea of Mother Goddess makes you feel much more love towards humanity. So you link Durga's aspects on how you can absorb them and use them in your life. Like say, the idea of the loving mother. So okay, yeah, loving mother. Or the idea of if you want to succeed in education, you worship Saraswati. So ultimately, all the facets of Shakti are from Parvati. Parvati is a symbol for all the goddess. So Parvati manifests as Durga as a fierce warrior, as Saraswati, the goddess of music, art, and dance and learning, as Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, and multi other myriad forms of gods you have for all different kinds of things. Now, if you go to India, you will notice that if you go in any rickshaw, you see different kind of mother goddess, you see Kodiyar Ma. And I think once I was surprised, I saw some in one rickshaw, I saw a Bootma. I said, what is Bootma? And I was surprised. It's the goddess for the cobblers, yeah, who shoes, yes. So you have all these multiple myriads of gods, goddesses. The beauty about God is that you see them in you can see goddess Shakti being worshipped in different ways. And you can say that a lot of women see as role model because Durga Ma, or at least the mother goddess, encourages you to work on your strengths. Like, if you like knowledge, you worship Saraswati. If you like to do business, you worship Lakshmi. So you can actually choose a goddess which suits you most. Yes. That's what you can say is a role model because it's much more versatile. You can choose a particular representation of the mother goddess which helps you in pursuing your ambitions or your career. So that's the kind of answer I would give. But anyway, that's an example they've given here. Yeah. So give two facets of the answer: what you think when you stand, and how somebody may disagree or how they may contradict you. And at the end, round up your answer. Yeah, that's the kind of 10-mark question.
Then maybe a good way of tackling those questions is to just think of 10 facts about Durga, and then
Absolutely.
frame the answer by having reference to them, and maybe make up your mind when you'd
Yeah.
actually just think of
Exactly.
the facts. Yeah.
No, agreed. One thing I must say, if you reference the scripture, say, as mentioned in the, what do you call, Devi Shukta, they love that for some reason, because the scripture is such a big thing in Abrahamic faith. So when you reference scriptures or personalities, they like the idea. So if you can reference scriptures, it's a good idea here as well. Yes. So anyhow, that's the kind of the 10-mark answers that they want. Yeah. So yeah, let me go back to the question section again. Yeah. So they're all like this. Kartika is the most important god. Why? Well, because he's versatile. You can see him as a warrior, philosopher. However, you can say, oh, but Ganesh also is remover of obstacles. Not only carry these burdens, or you can also worship Shiva. So you give a very good answer here. You can give a nice answer. Oh, one thing I actually forgot now that you mentioned is, let me share that is a good idea. I'll kind of, Nishit, I don't know how we can share this memory guide. This is something we give to our students. I don't know if I've covered this earlier, but let me stop sharing this. I'll share something else now. Yeah, hold on. Yeah,
Is it something you want to send them as a download?
if I can. Yeah, this one is a memory guide. Yeah.
That's good.
So this is something I asked students to learn. Actually, I'm just about to give my students as well. The last month before exam, I give them to learn this. You just memorize the words. I tell you why. In exams, if you get a question, forget students, even me, even though I've been teaching Hinduism for 15 years, I will go blank. Yes. So what I ask is you memorize this table, and the first thing you do when you go to exams, you turn the paper over, the question paper, not the answer sheet, but the question paper, or answer, it doesn't matter. Just do memory dump, put them down. Yes. And when the exam comes, when the exam answers a question, if you 10-mark question, you go, oh, I only have 8 points. What do I do? Like in the question of this, Durga is a good role model. You said today, maybe not, it's not a good one because it's all mythological stories. So not a good role model. Yeah. And you get away, they give you marks for that. Yeah. Because it's the right answer. But in the exam, it won't come to you. So you say, Durga is not role model today because many women feel that the stories in the mythology are actually irrational. They're not rational stories, yeah. So don't apply to us. So again, you get a mark for that, yeah. And the key words that really fit everywhere in every question, and which I call them killer words, are dharma and karma. Why do Hindus do this? Because it's good dharma, it's dharma, part of dharma, or it gives you good karma, and you get away. But don't write in every question. Every question, oh, is my dharma, is good karma? Then I think the exam will get something wrong here, yeah. But it's a very powerful because even in the West, they love these two words, yes. They use these words. So, like, why? If you get a question, why do Hindus do celebrate festivals? Reminder of God, good karma, symbolic, tradition, culture. They will just poke out from this table, yes. So it's something good to memorize. So can I upload it here on the chat? I'm not sure. Nishit bhai, is it possible? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think it should work. If
Okay,
you
let me
paste the
try it
link,
now. Let me try file, yeah. Yeah, okay, from your computer. I'm going to get it off now, yeah. Bear with me. Hinduism.
Thank you very much, Vijay, for sharing this quick and easy tips. It's one thing to have the knowledge,
Yeah,
it's another thing to have the
it's just
right
a technique, yeah. So hold on, notes, yeah. 1 second. Where is it gone? Come on. Syllabus, yeah. Yeah, okay, got it. Open. Yeah, it's there now, yeah, on the chat group, yeah.
Yep, I can see it, and you can, yeah, people can download it.
Yeah, the thing is, I've kept some extra squares at the bottom. You can add your own memory words if you like, yes. And just if you learn about 20, 30 words in exams, just when you go exam, I know it takes about 5 minutes, but I think 5 minutes well spent. Just dump them, and then what you do is in exams, when you answer the question, and you feel I can't get my 5 marks, I only get 4 marks, look at memory again and see how you can strengthen your question. Yeah, answer like that. But use them wisely. Don't misuse them, right? Don't just use them ad hoc and randomly. Then I think the examiner will not give you good marks. And the answers you must give must have a good rational answers. Yeah. So there's one question I know, but asking the question about Vanaprasth. when people retire, yes, Vanpras means going to the forest. It's part of the ashrams. And somebody wrote an answer saying that, well, they can't go in the forest anymore because there's no trees left. Somebody has cut all the trees, environment, so you can't go to the forest. So you have to be careful of what kind of answers you give. Yes, yeah, it's true. I agree, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I think we've kind of spent.
Lovely. I think we're going to bring this to a close now because we are at past 1 o'clock at the moment. And I'm mindful of everyone's time. It's a lovely weekend. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We're going to bring this to a close for now. Remember, today we will not be having a 2 o'clock live session. We will be restreaming one of the previous sessions as a live. If you want to see that, you can join us on YouTube or Facebook at 2 o'clock UK time. Anjana, I'm going to send my email address, my private email address.
All right. Thank you.
It's in the chat. I'll give you guys all a couple of seconds to just note down my email address.
Okay.
If you did not get the memory guide, just send me an email. I'll reply back with that memory guide. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So Vijay bhai, thank you once again for sharing all that knowledge and wisdom and
Thank you.
over the years of teaching this as a course, so that our students here can benefit from the best tips and tricks of how to approach the exam.
That's what exam is about, tricks and trade. Yeah. So, yeah.
So knowledge is one thing, and the way to approach the exam, mindset, all that is a different thing. So thank you for sharing that. And so from us, bye-bye for now. See you all next Saturday.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Jai Shri Krishna.
Thanks, Vijay. Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Thanks, Krishna. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Again to those who are celebrating.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Nishit.